So now, both of you just tell me, can you see the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, as we discussed yesterday, we have to understand that we were taking up with doing it in the manner of 2D and 3D to be understood relatively, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Which means if I have been given a object, okay, and I am asked standing it from here, when you look at it, what do you see? Yes, when we look at it, what do we see?
Square.
We see a square. To make it and understand it, there is a set way that your first vertical plane or front vertical plane, that is the area which is going to see this as a square, right? I'm just reviving it so that you can relate it, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
Yes, ma'am.
when we go towards the right side, we are supposed to see this surface, and when we are moving on the left, we are supposed to see this surface. So that means that we are actually relatively drawing the left, right, front, and there is a condition. How do you look at the top? Arjun, can you revise for me? How do you look at the top? Can you revise for me? How do we look at the top?
Ma'am,
We have to view from the front side. There itself believe that I am going standing there towards the top, and then I will view this surface. So what do I see?
square. Ma'am.
A square, and that would be drawn just below the front elevation on the horizontal plane, and that is again a square. So that is the way we actually read a 3D and I translated it into 2D, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Now let us understand the reverse relationship. If I have been given the 2D, how do I generate the 3D? Shall we start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So while I do that, let us now see that suppose instead of a square in my left elevation, now let me see if I have a rectangle in the left and the right elevation. Will there be a change in the object? Both of you?
Yes, ma'am. It will become a cuboid.
Perfect. It will become a cuboid, and how quickly do we decide that is on the basis of that what is your right viewing surface. That is what you say.
Yes, ma'am.
Rahul, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That is the only change which will happen, nothing else. Arjun?
Ma'am, at the top portion.
Correct. That means since I have got the reduced width at the right and the left, relatively your this edge is also going to follow the same distance, and which means that what will happen to my plant is something like this. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, shall I say that if the previous one, where I had a square in the top view, square in the front elevation, and two rectangles, it will not be possible for me to get to this as 3D at the same time. Intermittently, if I say that is there a relationship between the right and the left elevation with the plan, somewhere either the 2D relation has been not given correctly, because I cannot make an object of this category where you have a square in the top view. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Therefore, shall I say that if you have been given this as, what was the word I mentioned yesterday? Can you repeat? What is this particular 2D layout called? What is this particular 2D layout called? Remember it? Orthographic projection. That
Yes,
means
ma'am.
within this orthographic projection, if I follow my left and right elevation being changed from the previous case, the plan also needs a rectification, and that is not true to itself. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Now what we'll do is, I'll give you a set of OP. Can I say OP in short form? I think both of you can understand. That's the orthographic projection, right?
Okay.
So this is, I give you an object on the basis of 2 dimensions only, and let us see if you can make the object for me. Okay? Both of you can make the object and immediately ping simultaneously at WhatsApp also. So that first let us check that individually, and then I'll put with the correct solution on the board. Okay? Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So I have a rectangle which is in the top view. I have another rectangle.
Ma'am,
Yes.
for this I should use color pencils, ma'am.
I will tell you when you have to use the color pencils.
Okay.
Now, you will have to have a triangle as the side elevation. Can you make the object for me? If you wish to have a reference for the left side, I can do it for you. That's the mirror of the right. Both of you, can you make the object? Can you try doing so? I see a rectangle in the front elevation. I see a rectangle in the plan as well. And for the side elevations, I see triangles. Of course, you can notice that is at 90 degrees. So it's a right angled triangle. Can you try with the 3D object? Yes, please. Arjun, did you get the object?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sending it to you.
Good. Rahul, are you trying with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you name precisely what kind of object did you get?
Name.
Like the previous one, say, was a cuboid. So can you name the object? Okay, no props. In the meanwhile, by the time you send me, you can notice here that I have made 3 axes for you all on the board. Okay,
Yes.
let me make that on reverse for you so that both of you will be able to understand it faster. See this. You can see that I have started to make X and Y axis in plan, which is on the horizontal plane for us, right? So that's the fastest way if you are unable to derive the object just visually to make it by the way of crafting it on the 3rd dimension, and how quickly we will do that. See this. For your comfort, I will name it in manner of points. Suppose at your point O, which is the intersection here of X and Y axis, I name the object as cornered with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now I will start to repost the object here. The point which I'm getting coincided at 0 is 1. True? Right. So if I just derive this
Yes, ma'am.
rectangle, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4 here in X and Y direction, what point do I get here at point number 2? That is 2. On your axis of x, you get here 2. And what do I get towards the y-axis? Yes, 4. I will just
4, ma'am.
assume with the direction and dimension. That means the one which is following the y-axis, I will number it here, and the one which is following the x-axis, I will number it here. Now, making the lines simply parallel from the point 2 and from the point 4. Can I say that I can get another point here? What
Yes,
is
ma'am.
that point? Yes, please. What is that point? 3. Rahul,
3,
is
ma'am.
that 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when I get 3, as per the top view, that means here, I have almost got the same shape in my three-dimensional vision, right? Now I'm left with left elevation, front elevation, and right elevation. So what I need to do is that I have to actually derive all of these here in the object, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So Arjun has still not sent me the object. Arjun,
Ma'am, I have sent you. Ma'am.
you have sent me, I hope, at WhatsApp. Just put me a WhatsApp, both of you, if you have done it. And in the meanwhile, just relate it and check it. That have you derived the same? See this. What happens in right elevation? Can we see that? What are the points which are visible towards the right side on this base? In terms of plan, what are the points which are visible towards the right side? Yes, please. Number them. Rahul,
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, ma'am.
Arjun, what are the points we see on the right side? Which 2 points on this right side? On the base,
3, 2.
3 and 2.
2 and 3, ma'am.
So that means when I'm standing here, I'll be able to see this 3 and 2, which is your right side elevation, right?
Yes.
Can you
Yes, ma'am.
identify what would be the point here? The elevation of the triangle, that means the straight line would be where? At 3 or at 2?
2, ma'am.
2, ma'am.
You say that towards the right side, that will be at 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it so?
Yes.
Okay. So let us make this line at 2. That is what you are saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Fine. Now let us relate. What is happening at point number 3 here?
Ma'am, no, ma'am. It's at
Yes,
3, ma'am.
it's at 3. Perfect. We have to just notice that when I'm going here and standing and viewing it, which is the right here? Point number 3, correct? And
Yes,
in
ma'am.
this case, which is the right here? Point number 3. Now you got it identified as correct that your vertical line actually should have been here. Got the point, Rahul? Understood?
Yeah, okay, ma'am. Understood.
You are standing here at this position and viewing towards the right. You will see 3, and towards the left, you have 2, which is the case here. So this is not the option. Actually, this is the option. Now,
Okay.
what do I do? This top point is joined where? At point number
2, ma'am.
2.
2. So I have to join it here. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The same way, can I repeat the making at the left side?
Yes, ma'am.
Will it be the same?
Yes, ma'am.
So I just make the vertical line. Why? Because I have point number 4, which is in parallel position to 3 here, right? And the point at the top, it is coming where? It is coming down to,
1.
yes, it is coming down to 1. So when I relate it from top here, I have to come down to 1. What is remaining to join here? What is remaining to join here?
Ma'am, the points at the top, ma'am.
So I've done that, and at the bottom. Now, checking time. Can you tell me that is what you are actually seeing from the top? When you look at this object from the top, what are you able to see?
Rectangle.
Rectangle. And equalizingly, if I stand in front of this object, what do I see from the front?
Rectangle.
It's the same rectangle which I am actually seeing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So which means from this orthographic projection, the object drawn will be this, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Perfect. Shall we do with another problem?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, quickly, I'll be asking you a question and let me see how many objects you all can answer me. Okay. The question goes like this. You have to tell me how many objects, and I'm talking here objects, we are not talking of stationary or furniture objects, simple objects like cuboids. Okay. How many objects can you mention which show a simple square in any elevation or top view? You have to tell me how many of them you can mention. Like how many
Cube,
objects? Yes, please.
cube, ma'am. Square, prism.
Okay. Any other? Rahul, would you like
Ma'am,
to mention some?
ma'am, the one which we drew before, ma'am. Instead of rectangle, we can draw it as square, ma'am.
Definitely. What is the name of that object? Any
Ma'am,
idea?
I don't know.
Both of you?
Right.
Yes, please.
Hold
Any
on.
idea
Ma'am,
how?
is that a prism, ma'am?
Come again?
Is that a prism? I'm sorry, pyramid, ma'am.
Quite near, but not pyramid. You have yet not, I think, revised the yesterday's
Ah,
session.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, pyramid means the points at the ends. If we drag towards the point, then it forms. But the before image is not that.
Yes, so that means it's basically what? It's a right triangled prism, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why? Because you are able to achieve the same surface, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the point is when you are achieving the same surface, repeatedly you get a prism, and so you said that that's a right triangle prism. A common name to this is wedge. Got the point?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
common name is wedge. So, as per you, you say that you have two objects only, cube and cuboid. Any other?
And this wedge, ma'am.
And this wedge. Okay, so you say that there are only three objects. Any other?
Uh,
Rahul, any other object where you can see a square in any elevation or
ma'am,
top?
cylinder, ma'am.
Very good. I like it. So that is a cylinder. Would there be a specific condition when a cylinder would be seen as a square? Can you
Yes,
highlight? What would be that condition?
ma'am. The length between the both ends, it,
Yes,
it should not be more.
that means the height of the cylinder will be equal to the diameter of the cylinder, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Only then this will be able to be seen as a square, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's somewhat almost this thing which you are actually going to see. True?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us have one more thing. You answered that a cylinder can also be seen as a square.
Square.
Perfectly fine.
Ma'am, can we take a pyramid, ma'am? Square pyramid.
I was coming to this. Now just tell me one thing, that if this object, you look at it from the top, what will you see?
Square. Ma'am.
Rahul, you also have the same answer. You will be able to see a square only.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me what happens to these lines? These ones. Will you not be seeing these lines?
We can see, ma'am.
So once you can see these lines,
And the point, ma'am, at the middle.
right, that means that also has to be drawn.
Yes, ma'am.
But then it does not remain only as a square. It becomes a combination of four triangles in that case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So which means a square pyramid, if seen from the top, is not going to be only seen as a square, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Case number two, both of you just think and then answer, please. That if you see at it from the bottom, what would be seen then?
Square. Ma'am.
I said think and answer. Still
Uh,
correct? You would be only seeing a square, Rahul?
no, ma'am. Where like cone shape you can see.
Come again. Can you repeat a bit louder?
From downside when we should see, ma'am.
Yes, I'm asking. When suppose you're seeing it from the underside of it, what would you see then?
Ma'am, is it transparent or
Good question, but let us understand. The way of asking is a bit different. I would put it and answer it technically. When we are actually dealing with such 3D objects as a matter of questions in exam, it is believed that they are supposed to be solid and non-transparent. Okay.
then we can observe a square, ma'am?
Then I will answer it differently. Here, there is a difference when you would be targeting both the exams. Those who are taking this question in NATA, they will have to understand that there is a rule while visualizing such objects. Okay. And what is that rule? See this. Suppose that's the object shown to you. I though take simple object first, and you're standing here and viewing the object, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The rule book says whatever you see, that has to be drawn. Okay.
Yes.
Now, as per the visualization rules, you have to also understand one thing more. See this. Suppose I'm going to make a minor change at the backside. Can you see the object now?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did I do? Half of the distance, I just cut the object. There's a point here from which you again back travel and you maintain the same depth, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, while you see the object standing in this position, you are able to actually see only the front square, right? Correct. The answer is not wrong, but I will say partly correct for NATA specifically. In JEE exam, in the prints, you will never find lines which are dotted. But in NATA, you may have the questions splitting you to this minuteness. When we are viewing from one position and you are seeing a surface, Rule number 1 says draw all that which is visible, and beyond the visible area, if there is something which changes the surface, you have to make that edge as dotted, even though it is not seen. Am I clear with the rule?
Yes, ma'am.
What does the rule say? I repeat, from the viewing side, you have to make what is visible, point number 1. And point number 2, you have to also make that what is not visible but changes the movement direction. So that means in the center, I will have to make a dotted line. Am I clear? Both of you, Rahul, Arjun, am I clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Which means for this case of square pyramid, if you are viewing from the bottom side, as per NATA, question to be answered, what will happen? What will happen?
Ma'am,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
As per the rule, you said that we should draw the front view, and if there is any change, we should draw a point, ma'am. We should keep a point.
Not the point. The point is identified for you to make understand that there would be obviously a line here. When this object, can you see? If you complete this object, what will happen? This way the object would be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So at this point, this entire edge is existing. The surface is turning at 90 degree.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
That means whatever you are seeing from the viewing side, that has to be drawn as such. But even if when you are seeing it from this side and the back edge, which is experiencing a turn, it is not the same surface. Any additional edge, if it is existing, you have to draw it dotted.
Okay.
Got the point? You have to draw it dotted. Okay. Now this happens only in case of NATA. In JEE, you will not be working on this rule. Why? Because this rule is normally seen to be given as an answer choice only in NATA with dotted lines. JEE question papers normally don't show you these dotted lines. Okay, clear with that?
Thank
So, as per NATA, if you have to answer, what will happen here? These diagonal lines, they will actually turn what? They will be dotted. Why? Because these edges are existing, but they are not seen when you are viewing it from the underside. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Which means for NATA, you cannot be answering that a square pyramid is an object which will show you a square. But for JEE B.Arch, you can answer it. I hope I'm clear to both of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Now let us see something still ahead. Okay. You all said that we are only having maybe a cube. That is the listing with us. We realized that you may have cube, or you said we may have a cuboid.
And photo frame also we can.
Come again.
Photo frame.
Photo frame is a furnishing object. We are actually talking here for common solid objects because that's the exercise for visualization purpose. Otherwise, there are numerous objects which are around you as furniture elements.
Okay.
Okay. And here you say a wedge. Okay. Perfect. Now just tell me one thing. I'm going to draw something in front of you. Though I was hoping that the moment I had made the cylinder and shown you a square within it, somebody out of you would have propped it. What is this object?
Half cylinder.
Semicircular cylinder, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you see a square from this?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Ma'am, I
Where
can.
we can see, ma'am. Half cylinder, ma'am.
If ethically you relate, even if you stand this side or if you stand this side, if the height is equal to the diameter, you can still see a square.
Yes, ma'am.
True?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir.
So that means out of the cylinder, one object is actually a cylinder with a simple orientation. But out of the same, I have actually derived another, right? True to it? Shall we see the next?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir.
Good. Now see this. I suppose have something like this. Okay. I have reduced the height. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
you can see the blue lining.
Yes, ma'am.
Now notice. I will still cut it from here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I will still cut it from the center and then again the center. Right.
Two squares it will.
Now, what will happen?
You can observe square.
I can still
Observe
observe a
square.
square. And how do I do that? It's actually now the condition is if the height of the cylinder is equal
Equal
to the
diameter.
radius of the cylinder, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, which means for a cylinder, a semicircular cylinder, that means cut half, maybe a quarter cylinder, the conditions can be more that we are able to see a square. True?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Which means out of the same object, actually, a normal response code is the moment I ask, how do you see a square? The most patent answer is a cube or a cuboid. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But now onwards, it does mean it could be even a cylinder which is going to be seen in orthographic projection as a rectangle or a square, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now onwards, whenever you people are going to see such a thing, this, right?
Yes, sir.
And if I have made one rectangle and I will make another rectangle, that is first, right? And suppose I make another rectangle. Is there a possibility that this is a cylinder by any chance?
Yes,
How?
ma'am. Uh, no, ma'am. If we add,
Yes. Is there any chance that I can still have a cylinder that if the front elevation is a rectangle and the top view is also a rectangle, can I have a cylinder?
no, ma'am.
Yes, Rahul?
No, ma'am. It will
No.
not.
Okay. Now let us relatively understand it. Okay. See this. In front of you people, I am making a circle. Okay. And what is happening here?
Cylinder.
It's a cylinder. Perfect.
Yes.
Now just let us have, to make it easier, let us have this base. Okay.
Okay.
And I say that Rahul, you are standing here. That's Rahul. Okay. And Arjun, you are standing here. Okay.
Okay.
So what does Arjun see in front elevation and top view?
Circle. Circle and top view I can observe a rectangle.
What about Rahul?
From that side, rectangle.
Rectangle and
We can observe both, ma'am.
Rahul, you can observe here that is a rectangle, that is front elevation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if I ask you to go above, elevate yourself and look at it from the top, what will you see still?
Both you can see.
You will
Rectangle.
again see a rectangle, but this
Rectangle.
time the rectangle would be actually this surface.
Yes.
The rectangle would be this surface, right? And while you were actually seeing it from the front, at that time, it was this surface, the blue one. Is that correct, Arjun?
Yes, ma'am.
But relative to this, can I say that the orthographic projection is right as per the given 3D object? The condition is satisfied that I will be able to see two rectangles for cylinder. That I have got it satisfied, which previously we were saying that it's not possible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But still, to relate with this 3D, can I say that as per the rules of orthographic projection, which means that this is the front vertical plane showing you the front elevation, and this is the horizontal plane which shows you the top view, which is plan. So, is the 3D from Rahul's point of view right to show the orthographic projection?
Yes, ma'am.
Arjun, that's a yes from you.
Yes, ma'am.
Rahul,
Yes, ma'am. It
shouldn't
will.
it be the case rectangle is true, but you are actually going to see a horizontal rectangle?
Yes, ma'am.
Because your case, when you are seeing it, and I think I should make the red rectangle in plan, that is what I have demarcated in 3D, right? And what about the top one? The
Even
same
it
rectangle, the blue surface, that is going to be the
horizontal.
horizontal. So, which means part of the condition was met correct. It is possible to see in front elevation and planned rectangles for an object which is so-called stated to be a cylinder, right?
Ma'am, for vertical rectangles, is it possible, ma'am?
Perfect. That means now you have started to work it out. See this. So what you're saying is, had it been my cylinder was supposed to be this, okay,
No, it's
right?
not possible, ma'am.
Yes, that is what I was asking you. Now let us stand in the same condition, okay? So now Arjun is standing here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you see, Arjun?
Rectangle.
In front elevation, right?
Ma'am.
And what do you see in plan?
Circle.
You are seeing a circle. Perfect. What about you, Rahul? What do you see in front elevation?
Rectangle.
Perfect. And what about top? Yes, what about top?
Circle.
You will be seeing a circle. Perfectly fine. So, what is the case where I will be seeing now rectangles? I need somebody else who would be actually, apart from these two positions, going to the side and seeing the side elevations. Then I will be able to see rectangle here, rectangle here. But in that case, my top view will change to a
Circle.
circle. So for this position, the correct orthographic projection is the blue category, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And for the first case, The correct one was only with this red horizontal rectangle and the blue horizontal rectangle. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear up till this part?
Ma'am, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Shall we get on to the next board?
Yes, ma'am.
So now we will slightly have something advancing on the same line. See this. Now you can see I have a square, right? Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a rectangle. What would be the possibility of objects?
Ma'am,
What will be the possibility of objects?
ma'am, I'm not getting it.
I'm asking. Now suppose you are seeing this as only front elevation. Okay?
Okay.
You see a square and at the top you see a rectangle. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
So can we understand what could be the object?
Ma'am, can that rectangle at the top of the square be a cylinder?
Of course, yes. The only thing is, say suppose, let us start one by one. That's a cube, for example, which is the most common way of thinking a square, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, over this, what is the most common logic?
Cuboid. Cuboid.
Yes, the very first thought process which comes is cuboid,
Ma'am,
right?
you will get four solutions.
Very nice. So there you are. That means we are actually transforming the MCQ and changing into
MSQ.
MSQ. So you have all the possibilities, and in fact, now when the answers come like this, and if you have option of all of the above, even that may be an option, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many possibilities can we see?
Four.
So that means, can I have a
Both cylinders, ma'am. One cylinder and one cuboid. One cube and one cylinder.
perfect? And I would say that even 4 may be a less figure because
Rhombus.
yes,
Rhombus you can.
come again.
Rhombus.
Rhombus is a shape, it's two dimension.
Okay, ma'am. That rectangle at the top would be a wedge.
Perfectly fine. So that means now say suppose you have a cylinder out here.
Both can be wedges, ma'am.
Both can be wedges. Okay. So you say that something of this sort could be coming in.
And three more possibilities will add up.
Very nice. So that means now you can say that of this as only elevation, you can have n number of possible options.
Yes.
That's your homework for today, both of you.
Yes, ma'am.
As many possibilities of this front elevation, which could be the 3D objects. Okay.
We should draw the possibilities, ma'am.
Yes, all the possibilities where you can see simply these objects as this to be the front elevation. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, noted the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Look at the board and I will make a change. Can you see I have erased something? Apart from the outer circle, can you see I have erased something very deeply into this object?
Yes, ma'am. There is no separation between square and a rectangle.
Right. So will that make a difference in visualization of the object?
Yes, ma'am.
What would be that difference?
Ma'am, I think there is no object like that.
Come again.
Uh, there are many possibilities for previous question, no, ma'am. For this, there would be no possibility, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us start to relate that. We have to understand that you are now actually entering into the zone 2. That means rule number 2 to be understood here. Okay. We have also to understand that the moment there is no line between two shapes exactly, you are identifying this as a square and a rectangle. Why? Because I had put you a previous question. Had it been there was no question, this is basically a single shape, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But since we started with a square and the rectangle, so let me say that when there is no separation line in between, it just means that the surface of this entire thing is same. Here, what is happening? The eye is actually visualizing this surface, turning back, and then you are reading another surface. So here you have a continuous line. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
ma'am, uh, we can have some. We can see some shapes, ma'am. In for that, yeah, for that question, ma'am. We
Yes,
can
that
see.
that
Yes,
is what we are going to draw right now. I'll just
that
draw
part.
it right away in front of you. Now see this. Point number one, I said that you have to have all of this in same surface, this entire part, right? That means up till here I have the line, up till here also I have the line, and if suppose the object rises up, okay, then I will not be having any edge here. Can we relate it now?
Yes, ma'am.
That means now all the red area is going to be just extended till the back, and I will not be having any of the line in the middle part. Did you all notice?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Ma'am,
Yes.
from the left side and the right side, we can see a cuboid. Like it will appear as a rectangle, ma'am. Sorry.
Will that be a rectangle if we see from the right side?
Right and left sides.
Fine. Say suppose we start with the right. So what will you observe?
Ma'am,
What will you observe from the right side?
a square
Yes. And
and another
and another square. So that means the entire rectangle for right elevation will actually have a line at this level.
yes,
Why? Because I am seeing this surface is being turned at the back, right?
yes, ma'am.
We are right now talking what? That you've been given a elevation and what is the possibility of the object, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why are we learning this? Take a close look. Both of you concentrate. Suppose I draw the object this way. Please concentrate, both of you. Suppose now I draw the object along the black line, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And I say that this part is no more existing. The base is the same as it was before. That means it continued till here. Is this object possible for this elevation which is being drawn on the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Rahul, is it possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Arjun,
Yes, ma'am.
is it possible?
Yes, ma'am.
What did rule number one say?
Uh, Ma'am, if there is any change, so we have to draw a line.
Right. So that means if Rahul is standing here and seeing this question in NATA question paper, what will be the front elevation of this, Rahul?
Ma'am,
I'm
we should.
asking Rahul.
Sorry.
Rahul, what would be
Mm.
the front elevation if you're standing and seeing this question in NATA?
Triangle it maybe.
Come again?
And square and
we will be having a dotted line. Can you see the line work?
Yes.
You have to concentrate towards this area. See this. Why? Because this edge and this edge, they become now separate edges as the surface is changing from the back side. But since the rule says what you are seeing will be drawn continuous and what you are not seeing will be drawn dotted. As per questions answered in NATA, they do show dotted lines. If Arjun is standing here and he's seeing this paper in JEE, then even yes,
then there is no need of drawing line.
of that line, unless if your exam question solution puts you to an option with the dotted line, this would be the best choice to answer.
Okay.
Do we get that?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Rahul, clear with the concept?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So we have to just summarize and revise. Rule number 1 says for the positioning or viewing angle, when you are viewing an object, whatever is visible, that has to be made continuous, and what is not visible but does exist as a surface change should be made with dotted line. In NATA, take that note strongly. Okay. Rule number 2 says if the entire surface is same, there is no movement or turning of line direction. You are not supposed to make a line. It all remains a continuous surface. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would be needing of the previous question all the possibilities of objects you have to sketch and you have to send it to me at both email and WhatsApp. Clear?
Sorry, ma'am.
The previous question, what are the possibilities of all objects to be made from the previous one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Where we made a top rectangle and a bottom square. How many objects can you make which portray you this as a 3D? You have to share me all the options of 3D.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, sketch it and send it immediately after the class.
Okay.
Okay, both of you can log off. Thank you for the day. Have a
Ma'am,
nice preparation. Yes, please.
about the next class
You'll
time.
just get an intimation at your WhatsApp.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.